Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Ithaqwa's Bane, covering all manner of tabletop gaming. Please take a moment to like, subscribe and add comments. It would really help me out. And with that, let us begin. Now, let's start with a few questions. Question 1. As an RPG or role-playing game, Games Master, Dungeon Master or Referee, have you ever needed a quick and simple method of creating a scenario? Whether it's due to the party completely ignoring your rich, detailed, pre-planned scenario and NPC prompt, going in a completely different direction to what you wanted or intended, killing key NPCs who are involved with the campaign progression, or maybe you haven't had time to create a scenario for the night's session due to work or family, personal commitments. Question 2. As a solo role player, are you in need of a quick and simple method of generating scenarios and adventures with random, interesting and cohesive elements? Question 3. Are you a tabletop gamer, using miniatures and terrain to fight fantastic battles and skirmishes, and you're looking for a way to create a narrative or a story for your games, or as a basis for a campaign, a prolonged campaign? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you may be interested in the 2 products I'm featuring in this episode. 2 quick, easy, and cheap tools to aid scenario or adventure or mission creation. First up, we have Scenario Builder by Shieldicestudio, and it's part of their Realm Fables line. Now, the Realm Fables line of products from Shieldice Studios has a good range of gaming tools, covering things like villain generators or NPC creators, world generators, sandbox generators, dungeon generators. There's a lot of different products in this line which are extremely useful. Now, recently, Jay from Shieldice Studios reached out to me and I put out a few videos covering his recent Kickstarter for Loom Portent of the Veil, a game that I really enjoyed, and I recommend that you check out. You can see my videos at the link here, but you should check out the game. It's a very, very interesting little enjoyable experience. But in this video, we're looking at, like I say, a couple of scenario generating products. The first of which is Scenario Builder. This is a small book. It's around 20 pages. And it can be found on DriveThruRPG. I think the recommended retail price is about $4. I think at the moment, at the time of recording, I think it's on sale a little bit. I think it's about $3. But even at full price, $4, it's very cheap. And like I say, it's a very, very useful tool. I will put a link in the description below for the DriveThruRPG product. Now, with this book and a deck of playing cards and some dice, you can generate a random, unique, interesting scenario or adventure, or for tabletop gaming, maybe a mission, for your game in absolutely no time whatsoever. It's a very fast process, but it gives you a pretty decently designed and detailed encounter. Very useful when you're in a hurry or you don't want to use a huge book for the same purpose. How does it work? Good question. Let's go through the contents of the book and build an example scenario. Okay, I have a piece of paper to write some notes. I've got my pen and we've got the book. Now, like I say, in the book, it's only very small. It's only about 20 pages. It takes you through the process, very clear and very easy to follow. The production value of the book is very nice indeed. The artwork, the style, the layout is very, very easy to follow and easy to read and being attractive at the same time. So there are 6 basic steps to creating this scenario using this book, using this method. And the first thing you'll need to do is to select a location type where your scenario and where your campaign is located. So in the book there are 6 provided location zones. You have Kingdom, which is for urban scenarios and urban campaigns. You have Desolate, sort of wasteland, maybe mountainous areas, hilly, tundra, you know, those kind of areas. You have Coastal, Jungle, Frozen, and Gothic. So you've even got a horror variation here. So the first thing you need to do is to identify or to confirm what is your location zone. Now you could, since there are 6 locations and maybe you want to do just a one-off, you could just roll a d6 and that can tell you what location type you're going to be using. But normally you're going to be using this to develop scenarios for an existing campaign, so you should be able to identify what the zone is. So for example, if you're looking for a scenario in a fantasy urban setting in a city, then you would use the Kingdom location zone. Well, we'll do an example. So let's say for our example, we're going to be based on a tropical island. So in that case, we would be looking at the coastal or jungle location zones, depending on where on the island the scenario is going to take place. So if, for example, let's say our scenario is going to be in the interior of the island, of this tropical island, then we would use the jungle location zone. If the scenario was going to be on the coast of the island, then we would use the coastal location zone. Easy peasy. What you do next is you take your deck of cards and you shuffle. Let's move that out of the way. Now, I'm not a very good shuffler. These could go everywhere. Dump, dump, dump. Right, so we're just giving these a quick shuffle. They have been shuffled a number of times before. Now, from your deck of cards, you draw 4 cards and arrange them in a 2x2 layout. So something akin to this. Just 4 cards, that's all you need. You can put the rest of the cards away. You're not going to be using them. So this essentially is the layout, the area of your scenario. And each of these cards represents a specific little area of the setting, of the location for the scenario. So normally what you would now do is reveal all 4 cards and then reference the location zone to find out exactly what is in each of those 4 small areas of the scenario location. If you are a solo player and you want total surprise, you could actually keep the cards face down and reveal each card as you move into each area or sub area. Alternatively, you may want to reveal all the cards now to identify their locations and base data, but maybe do some of the other roles that we'll be doing. Maybe you'll do those later instead. So maybe you want to create and identify, like I say, the basic information first, and then do the other parts as the surprise elements. Like I say, as a solo player, you're free to choose. But as a tabletop gamer, as a role-playing dungeon master, you probably want to identify everything now and prepare everything in advance. But like I say, doing the whole surprise thing is an option. So let's identify the cards that we have. We have the Jack of Diamonds, the 7 of Clubs, King of Clubs, and 9 of Hearts. And yes, these cards, in case you're wondering, these cards are from a unicorn pack through Bicycle. Anne Stokes and John Woodward have done all the artwork. Very pretty cards. So these are our 4 areas. And for our example scenario, we said we're on a tropical island. It's on the interior. So we are interested in the jungle zones. So what we now do is identify for each card what exactly is inside that specific zone, that specific location. So we've got our 4 areas. Again, I'll zoom in and do a picture and show you what I've done here. But let's say, for example, first of all, we're going to be looking at the Jack of Diamonds. So this is going to be area 1. So the Jack of Diamonds, statue of a great ape above a pool. So that's the first area. Now I'm going to do the other 3. I'm going to leave space in between because I might want to write other information for each area. So our second area was going to be the 7 of Clubs. Right, 7 of Clubs, clearing of strange wild flowers. Okay, so this is going to be area 2. Third area is the King of Clubs. A deforested zone, stumps. Right, so this is area 3. And then our 4th area is the 9 of Hearts. This is going to be area 4. So the 9 of Hearts, a botanist's laboratory. Now, this could be the location of the scenario's villain. It could also be an area which has an NPC, the botanist, obviously, or maybe the botanist's daughter who's sort of staying there. Maybe the botanist has issues. I don't know, maybe they're old, maybe they're in a coma, maybe they've been killed. There's a lot of things that we can generate from this. Right. So we now have the 4 main zones of our, I think that's the better word to use, zones of our scenario. And again, they're going to be located in a 2x2 grid. Right, what's next? Part 3. Next, determine any loot and or inhabitants for the scenario using the information on page 9. So this is the next thing we need to do, is the location setup. And again, we have all of the steps. All of the steps are on page 1, taking you through step by step what we need to do. We're currently at step 3, determine location, inhabitants, and content. So let's follow this. We're going to be doing loot, potential NPCs, and then adding information as we need to, sparking ideas. Like I said just now with the botanist's laboratory, the first thing that came to mind is that maybe there's a villain or an NPC going to be there, which we can then develop and evolve. Right, so for loot, roll D4 twice to determine within which zones the loot pieces reside. So as a standard, they're basically telling us to put 2 pieces of loot somewhere in the zones. Then roll on the table below to generate a treasure type. All right, so this could be in a chest. It could be hidden inside a tree stump, which we have here, for example. We can then roll on other generators to actually find out specifically what type of weapon or what type of heirloom we find. So we're rolling D4 twice to find out which zones the loot are. So first of all, we get a, you probably can't see this, this is a D4 here, but that's a 2 and a 3. So in zones 2 and 3, we actually have a piece of loot. So, loot and loot. Right, now we're going to see what type of loot it is. So we roll a d20. Not sure whether you can see these dice. So these are new dice that I purchased recently, but the numbers are pretty small. They're very pretty, but the numbers are very small. Right, so in zone 2, what is going to be found? It's going to be 14, an heirloom. Okay. Again, we can roll that up on another generator later. And in zone 3, we get a 7, which is a goblet. Okay, so those need to be found. And like I said just now, in terms of where to position them and where they're located, this is something that you can generate. Maybe the area gives you an idea, like area 3 has a lot of stumps. So maybe the goblet has been hidden inside a rotted stump, or inside maybe where there is like a very large, like a knot hole or something inside the wooden stump. Maybe the goblet is, you know, pushed into there. That's something we can figure out later. Right, when looking at your zone features, you may wish to drop in some NPCs. Right, well, I was thinking here, for zone 4, it's a botanist's laboratory. So I'm thinking either the botanist or possibly their son or their daughter that's kind of there, and the botanist has either passed away or he's in a coma or he's very sick. Actually, the sickness could work. Maybe there's some kind of cure in this area of strange wildflowers. So I'm thinking, I think what I'll do, it says here, roll D4 or choose a zone at random and then add an appropriate NPC. Now I'm thinking, I don't think I want to do it randomly, because like I say, area 4 really does stand out as a place that an NPC could be located. I mean, area 1, you could have some kind of maybe cultist, priest or madman who worships the statue. But I think I'm going to go with area 4. So, like I say, here inside this scenario generator, it is saying, you know, do it randomly. But I think this kind of just stands out as being an obvious place. So what I'm going to do is add an NPC here. And I think it's going to be the daughter of botanist. Let's say the botanist is very sick, stroke dying. Again, that could generate a potential for the scenario. Again, linking with what's going to happen as I roll up the event, and in terms of what's going to trigger and the timer and everything, it could actually link with this. Or if it doesn't, this could generate a side quest, a side scenario within the same area. And then you may also wish to look at these areas, zones and features and jot down some notes on the lore surrounding the locations. Well, I could do that, but I don't think I'll be doing that on camera, to be very honest, because something like that's going to take a bit of time. For example, like here, the statue of the great ape. I could put a lot more detail here in terms of the materials, the surrounding area, above a pool, what's inside the pool. I could put down a lot of narrative for each of these areas, but for the sake of this video and for the sake of your sanity, I don't want this to be too long. So I will do all the sort of information, story and narrative for those areas. I'll do that off camera. So that is part 3. We've added 2 loot and 1 NPC. Right, what's next? Excuse me. We'll come back to the intro part. Part 4, determine trigger and timer rounds. So when you have some kind of encounter or some kind of occurrence, there has to be some kind of trigger or timer in terms of when it happens. It could be after a certain number of turns. It could be when you speak to an NPC. It could be when you pull a certain lever, or it could even be just entering one of those 4 areas or one of those 4 zones. So let's say for our scenario, I think we're just going to have a single event. You can have more. You could easily have more events in each, you could have up to 4 different events, 1 in each of those zones. But I think we're just going to have one kind of event. So now we have to generate the timer or the trigger. Now again, you could probably choose what you wanted, something that could suit the event that you roll up, but I'm going to do it completely random. So we roll, we flip a coin. I'm not going to flip a coin. I'm just going to roll a d6. 1 to 3 is a timer. 4 to 6 is a trigger. So it's a trigger. It's not something that happens after a certain amount of time. Something has to physically happen before the event happens. And we're going to be rolling a d12 to find out why. We get a 2, casting a magic spell. So casting a magic spell. Now the thing, it doesn't say that it has to be my players or my player or my character that casts the spell. It could be the villain. Maybe it would be, you know, the event. The villain catches us by surprise by casting that spell and starting the event, if the event is character based. So all right, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down the bottom here, because at the moment I don't know in terms of which zone or what the event is. So I'm just going to put down here, it is a trigger. We've just got one event, so the trigger is casting a magic spell. All right. Now, once that's done, we're going to have to actually generate the event. At last, you say, this is what the scenario is all about. Well, yes, it is the core essence of the scenario or the mission or the encounter, but establishing the location, what's in each locations and loots and NPCs, it kind of gives us some resources to flesh out and make sense of what the event's going to be. It could be linked with the NPC. It could be linked with the loot or what's in a location. So a little bit of patience is required. So when we come to determine the event, and like I say, you could have 1, you could have 2, 3, 4 events in that area. I'm going to have 1. So what we do first is roll a d6 to find out what type of event it is. It could be hazard, combat-based, or some form of roleplay event. We then have to determine in which of those 4 zones the event will take place. A d6 to find out what kind of event we have. On our tropical island, we get a 5, so it's some form of role-playing event. We now roll to find out what zone it's going to happen. It happens in zone 3. So in zone 3, which is our deforested zone with all the stumps and the goblet hidden somewhere, this is where the event will take place, and it is a role-play event. So I'm just going to put, again, a quick little note down here. Event is in A3. Role-play. Right. Now, once that's done, we then go to the relevant section. So here we have hazard events, combat events, and roleplay events. And we're going to be doing some further rolls of the dice, providing more specific details of the event. So let's have a look here. Hazards could be environmental, traps, magical hazards, or some kind of resource hazard. Combat could be against single or groups of enemies. They could be against large monsters or even animals and beasts. Roleplay events, which is the one that we rolled up in our example, could be a challenge where we witness something happening, the potential to give aid to somebody or something, or find an NPC with a quest. Now that would actually fit with what I've been thinking. Let's see if we're lucky and actually get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually roll up and find out the specific roleplay event that we have found for our sample adventure. Right. So first of all, we roll a d4 to find out what kind of event it is. So we roll a d4. We get a 1, which is a challenge. So it's not the name NPC quest. But like I mentioned earlier, that could actually be something separate, something additional that I will add. So we have a challenge event. So these represent the beginning of a bet, a game, or other such contest. Let's find out and see what we get. So we're rolling a d20 to find out specifically what challenge event we have. So d20, we get a 17. Learn new skill or tutor. So in area 3, I have to learn a new skill with a tutor. Tutor! So maybe in area 3, maybe there are rumors of a druid, possibly, or maybe a dryad, who has been rumored to train virtuous, heroic individuals who care for animals and nature. And maybe, again, I have to try and convince them to train me, and they will train me in a new skill. Depending on what roleplay system or what tabletop game that you use, the gaining of skills could be based on level advancement or maybe experience points. Or maybe this could be something as thought of as being additional to those standard methods of gaining skills. And maybe the skill, if I'm going to be doing that, which I'm kind of thinking, it could be a skill related to, you know, forestry, maybe tracking, herbalism possibly, which could also help. Like I say, I'm thinking that this could be like a side quest or a side event. You know, the botanist is sick, dying, and the daughter wants me to collect certain flowers here. I've got to be able to identify them. Maybe she doesn't know what they look like. Her father has maybe taught her or told her the type of flower, but she's not exactly sure what they are, what they look like. But if I can come here, convince the druid or the dryad or the sort of the local dryad or something to actually teach me the skill of herbalism, maybe that can actually help me to accomplish this side quest. Ha ha ha! Maybe I also have to collect water from this pool. Maybe this pool has certain qualities. Or maybe it's one of the few sources of pure water on the island. Ha ha! It's all coming together. Now, I'm actually going to write that down because I think that's interesting. So, we have to learn a new skill, tutor. Okay. What I've done here, again, as I've been creating, as I've been rolling all these things up, you know, ideas, thoughts, have been going in my mind, in my brain. So, the event that I've actually rolled up for the scenario is actually part of a bigger quest that I've generated just from rolling up the different areas and the NPCs and the loot and everything else. Actually, the loot is kind of secondary. I mean, I could use the goblet to bring the water, but it's not necessary. So the loot in this case, in what I'm thinking, is supplementary. But again, the goblet and the heirloom would have to be rolled up on another generator, another sort of treasure generator to find out exactly what they are. Good, good, good. Right, now, we haven't finished just yet. There are a few other things that we can do. On pages 17 and 18, there are also some additional tables allowing even more details and content. And these are optional. So you're here just beyond the area. So this kind of gives you a bit of information just outside of our 4-card area. Something that's happening, you know, on the border of where we are. There could be a battle in the distance. There could be a wide blood-red river flowing by. So it's not specifically through our 4 zones, but maybe this blood-red river flows to the side, and it could be something that we could maybe use as a source for the next scenario. Changes over time. So this could also reflect what happens again in the area or around the area as you're doing this scenario. Area becomes darker, magic is slowly amplified, flora disappears. So again, this could be quite interesting to, again, evolve maybe for the next scenario. Party and player goals. So this is if you're playing a one-shot or maybe a tabletop game, you're doing a battle and it's just going to be a one-off game. This could actually give you some ideas in terms of why the players, the party, the warband is there. It can give you a kind of a goal for them to actually be here. But like I say, if you're doing a scenario for an existing campaign, you probably won't use this. But there is one that I think I will use for our example, and that's this one here, Boons and Banes. So you basically roll a boon and a bane, locate them as per usual, rolling a d4, and they can be good things and bad things in the zone that's going to help or hinder your scenario progress, or your party's progress in the scenario. So I think we'll do that as well. So for the boon, the good thing is going to be in zone 2, the clearing of strange wild flowers. So we're actually going to have a boon here. Now, clearing of strange wild flowers, the heirloom. Maybe the heirloom is buried here. And maybe, I don't know, maybe the party or the player has to make some kind of, like an awareness roll, perception roll, to notice an area where maybe the flowers really aren't as prolific, where it's been dug away. That could work. All right, the boon, we're rolling a d20. What boon is in area 2? We get a 5. A ray of warm light. Ray of warm light. So that could maybe give us a bonus for a certain amount of time. You know, maybe as we come into area 2, there is an unusually bright, unusually warm beam of light maybe coming from the sky, focusing on an area, maybe even focusing on where the heirloom is buried. So that could possibly link into finding the heirloom. Alternatively, maybe it could give us a bonus to our constitution, our charisma, maybe for a certain amount of time, which could help getting this druid to help us. That's potential. The Bane. Yeah, you've got to balance things out. There's got to be something bad as well. Let's have a look. This is going to be in zone... it's in zone 3. So in this deforested zone, as well as the goblet and potentially this druid, there's also going to be something which is not good. What's that going to be? D20. We get a 14. A dark omen. Ooh. Again, this could play into why the druid is there. Maybe he is sort of monitoring, waiting for this dark omen to happen kind of thing. Very, very interesting. And that is it. That is the whole process. And as you can see here, very quickly, we've generated quite an interesting little scenario. And looking back through the book and looking back through all the different tables in terms of what's in the different locations, the different types of locations themselves, the different kinds of loot, NPCs, the triggers, the types of event. There are a lot of different types of event that you could roll up. This is a very good resource to come up with these random encounters, adventures, and scenarios. Even, like I say, for tabletop games. Missions, yeah, for your fantasy games. And I think it's I think it really is a brilliant resource that, again, is very, very cheap. So with that done, we can then run this with our gaming group. We could use it in our next step of our solo campaign. Or like I say, you could use it as some kind of narrative story for your next game of Warhammer, Kings of War, one-page rules, Frostgrave, you know, whatever. So that is the first product for the video. Let's now take a look at the second product that is a bit easier to use but requires a bit more work. Right, the second product that I'm going to be looking at for helping us generate scenarios and adventures is called Sidequest Decks by Inkwell Ideas. Now, Sidequest decks are a range of, I think at the time of recording, 15 card decks. And these contain adventure outlines and map cards, usually about 54 cards per pack. Now, I did become first aware of these thanks to Mage Hammer's Game Table, YouTube channel. He used a pack of these in, I think it was a tiny D6 Cthulhu series, a role-playing game series. And he was using them to, generate the sort of every session's adventure. And I thought they were an incredible resource. So I popped over to DriveThruRPG and I picked up the science fiction set. Now, I did get the PDF version, since at the time I was looking at running a sci-fi game and I thought these could help to create scenarios, encounters, etc. Anyway, they looked perfect, but after downloading the files and opening the PDF, I was hesitant because there was 28 pages of color cards. And my ink levels were quite low at the time, so I kind of put it off. I had to wait until I could restock my ink and had time in my schedule and remembered to do it. But eventually I did print them out. Ta-da! Now here we have the 28 pages of cards. Now, I mean, I would have preferred maybe a few more per page, just to save in terms of cost. By putting 4 cards per page, like I say, it's 28 pages. It's a lot of pages of card. Now, if you have a very good printer, you can actually print these double-sided, front and back, yeah, because that's what we have here, look, front and back. Bom, bom. But my printer isn't very good at centering. It's a cheap printer. So I have to basically print single-sided, cut them out, and then combine together inside a sleeve. Yeah, so I purchased this science fiction deck. I printed them out, and yeah, they look amazing. They really do look good. But obviously, being printed on my cheap printer, sometimes the printing, especially like the dark graphics, aren't so clear. So I printed them out and kind of put them to one side, so when I had time to sort of cut them out and arrange them and everything else. Fast forward a week and I'm on Amazon looking for a gift, and I noticed that they have physical copies of these card decks on Amazon. And the shipping was actually affordable. You see, where I live, shipping can sometimes be a problem. I mean, getting products from DriveThruRPG, getting the physical print-on-demand products from DriveThruRPG can be a bit prohibitive. But these card decks on Amazon were actually affordable. The shipping was good. So, wow, say no more. So I ordered a couple of packs. Here we are. I ordered, let's move this over to the side. I ordered the Wilderness and Frontier Fantasy Pack and the Political and Urban Fantasy Pack. So these will basically cover all kinds of basic fantasy, yeah? The rural and the urban. For more specific types of fantasy, for example, maybe you have fantasy horror or maybe some kind of steampunk fantasy. These could still work, but there are dedicated decks for those. 15 packs, sci-fi, fantasy, modern, horror. They have quite a wide range. But like I say, I mean, even with the affordable shipping, I still couldn't afford to get more than 2, which is a bit of a shame, because these are definitely things where I want to have. I want them all. I want all the packs, but I just can't afford them. And I don't really want to print out all of them. Like I mentioned just now, you can get the PDFs from DriveThruRPG, but they also offer print on demand, the physical products on DriveThruRPG. I think the PDFs are about $4 The physical packs are around $15, I think, plus shipping, of course. I think I found these on Amazon for a little bit less. I think I found these for like $13 or $14, I think. And like I say, the shipping was okay. But I can't afford to get a lot more. Wish I could, but we'll see. Now, I did actually check Amazon again just before recording this episode because I wanted to sort of highlight a reference. But I couldn't actually find them anymore. I couldn't find any packs for sale on Amazon anymore. So I don't know if they've sold out, or maybe Inkwell Ideas doesn't use Amazon, because I think I ordered direct from Inkwell Ideas. Maybe they're not using Amazon anymore. Maybe they're using other distribution. But there you go. But drive-through is still an option if you want the physical version, and print and play isn't your thing. Right, so what we're going to do now is cut out the cards, all 28 pages of cards. I'm going to cut them out, and I'm going to make sure that I'm careful getting the right fronts and backs, and I'll put them in some card sleeves, and then we'll come back, have a look at these, and we'll also crack open, because look, they're not opened yet. We'll crack open these packs and see what the actual physical cards are like. So come back in a second, and we'll have the final products. Right, here we have the sealed physical packs that I bought, and this. This is the PDF. They are now cut and they are sleeved, and I've just put together a very quick tuck box now. Yeah, look how big. And this is like full of cards. So yeah, you can kind of see one of the disadvantages to printing out the the PDFs. Now, granted, I printed front and back out on separate pages of card. I used 160 GSM card. Normally for cards I use 230, but because I was having to print on separate pages because my printer is very bad at centering, I had to use basically for each card it's 2 pieces of 160 GSM. But they're all sleeved, they're all lovely jubbly and nice, but like I say, in terms of size, it's a bit thicker, it's a bit chunkier. But they have come out really, really nice. Now, these are the front sides, which give you a map or some kind of basis for the location of the adventure or the scenario that you're going to be doing. So, and again, because I printed them with a kind of cheap printer, they're not going to be as pretty as I think these ones are going to be. Again, I haven't looked at these yet. I haven't unwrapped them yet. But you can see here, for example, this one. This is card 08. So this is card number 8, Cry for Help. And all these cards will have a reference number, a title, and information, along with a related image, map, or graphic. So this is an example here. We'll just go through a couple. Keywords: spaceflight, escape, and steal a starship. So that kind of gives you an idea about what this scenario will be about. Then it gives you a little bit of a description. A resistance homeworld is surrounded by an imperial blockade. The resistance needs a ship to rendezvous with their own fleet and create a distraction. Getting the PCs involved, so that's the next part. PCs are established in the resistance in order to undertake the mission. That's one way. A relative is in the resistance while helping him or her. The PCs are the only ones near an imperial ship. So it's giving you a couple of ways to start the scenario, or to make sure that your players are in the right place at the right time and why they should be, getting involved. After that, there are a few encounters that you can incorporate within the scenario to kind of make it work, to make it exciting. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different encounters here, things that you can incorporate within the story or the adventure. Just look at a couple. The Resistance's leaders know a small Imperial scout ship has landed in an unpopulated area. It may be possible for a small team to steal it. Scouting the landing site, it only has 2 guards. If attacked, they attempt to take off or send a signal. The scout ship will get the PCs to the blockade, but if they're attacked, they won't have any codes. The resistance fleet can easily destroy the pursuing ships once the PC ship gets near. The resistance fleet makes a distraction on one side of the blockade, creating an avenue for the resistance's planetside fleet hidden underground to escape from the other side. Now, if we turn the card over, it basically gives you a layout of the area where this ship is located, so you can recreate this on the tabletop, whether it's for a if it's for a role-playing game. You can use a very simple sort of 2D map, or what's it called, VTT, the sort of computer-based images and tabletops. But you can actually recreate this very simply. If you're a tabletop gamer and you're doing games with miniatures and terrain, like 40k, Stargrave, whatever, again, this could represent your battlefield, the table that you're actually going to be fighting over. You know, maybe you come in this side, maybe the enemy has forces coming in this side, got a couple of guards by the ship. So it's useful. What else do we have? At the bottom, it also says follow-up adventure ideas. So this also gives you a few hints and a few pieces of prompts where you can think about, you know, what happens next, what happens after this. So what have we got here? The PCs may now have an Imperial scout ship. The PCs are given an even more dangerous mission. So it's like a lead on what could happen possibly next. And at the bottom, make it fantasy. So it also gives a little bit of advice in terms of if you want to do something like this in a fantasy setting. Maybe you can only afford one set of cards. It basically gives you an option in terms of how you can bring these cards into a fantasy setting, so you don't have to buy more packs. But that's one example. That is card number 8. What else do we have? Let's have a look. Let's pick another one at random. Zomp. What have we got here? Oh, this one looks a little bit interesting. What have we got? So this is card 37. The Inspectors. So this one, keywords, interstellar politics, mystery and manhunt. The PCs are asked to serve as inspectors while destroying weapons of mass destruction. A weapon goes missing. Again, it gives you information about how to get the PCs involved, encounters that you're going to face in the scenario, follow-up adventure ideas, and how to make it fantasy. And on the other side, we have an image. This looks like a starport. Let's have a look. Meet the military members, devise a way to ensure all the weapons are counted are real, ask to help. Yeah. So again, it gives you a hint in terms of the map that you can use for that particular adventure or scenario. And you've got a wide range, like I say, of maps and images which will help you to run the scenario. And like I say, on the other side is all the details and information that you may need. Now, this is not the same as the product we looked at before, the Scenario Builder by Shieldice Studios. It is a very different take to accomplish the same end. With this, I think you're going to have a bit more, what's the best word to use, prep. It gives you all the basic information, but it doesn't cover as many elements as maybe the Scenario Builder book does. But at the same time, I think that this could also be extremely useful. I mean, if you're very good at improvising, thinking on your feet kind of thing, this deck of cards is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So the science fiction deck is good. I mean, the printouts are decent enough. Like I say, I think these ones are going to be higher quality in terms of the image resolution. But yeah, this is fine for me, and I'm definitely going to make use of these in the future. Now, where did I put the box? Here's the box I made. I just quickly put something together just to house the cards. It will do its job. But like I say, it's a bit bigger than the other ones. Right, let's take a look at these ones now. These two are the fantasy packs that I actually got physical. I haven't opened them yet. But like I say, at the time, the shipping was reasonable. So I took the plunge. So we have basically two fantasy decks here. One is focused on wilderness, one is focused on urban, so rural and urban. And like I say, it's the same design as the science fiction one. On one side of the card, you'll have some kind of map or image or diagram. And on the back or the front, whatever way you decide to call them, is going to be a lot of information in terms of, well, as we saw just now, getting them involved, getting the pieces involved, encounters and everything else. So, I mean, let's crack them open and have a look. Make sure I'm getting this on camera, because once it's done, I ain't going to be able to do it again, am I? So, there goes the rubbish. It's going to fly on the floor. Let's crack this one open. Okay, so the cards are in a nice plastic sleeve to keep them safe and secure. So let's undo that. There you go. I love unwrapping stuff. It's like Christmas. So these are the political and urban fantasy. Oh, actually they're pretty nice quality. Actually well made, well done. Some of the text looks a little bit blurry, maybe on the titles. It might just be my eyes. But yeah, it looks really nicely done. Different font to the sci-fi one. And again, on the back or the front, there's going to be images of cities, towns, because this is the political or the urban deck. So yeah, I mean, they look really nice. And like I say, the card quality is pretty good. They have a smooth, very smooth finish, glossy finish. Very nice. So yeah, some of these scenarios and adventures obviously will focus on maybe just one building. Some of them will focus on an area in the town. But again, because of the amount of space on one card, they may not identify every single building that's there. So you may have to improvise or work out information before you play. But yeah, these look very, very nice indeed. So this one's got a hex grid, so this may be some sort of larger zone of interest. Seeking justice done, protection, journey, criminal. So again, those are the keywords. A little bit of an introduction, getting the PCs involved, encounters, and follow-up ideas. Now, I do note these don't have the how to make it sci-fi. But I mean, these can easily be transferred into a sci-fi setting by basically setting the encounter or the adventure on a sort of lower technology world or a lesser developed world. Youth's Folly, investigation, village, caves. So you've got a cave system there, village here. But yeah, these are extremely useful. Really, really useful. And like I say, there's I think 54 in each pack. So you've got plenty. No, that's just the front one. You've got plenty and plenty of ideas for adventures. Some of the artwork is really nice. That could be our this could be our island that we did our adventure for in the scenario builder book. Let's have a look and see, what does this one say? The city beyond the veil. Journey, extraplanar travel. Oh, maybe not. But I could use the diagram, couldn't I? But yes, these are very, very nice. And like I say, the quality is very good. Very nice, sturdy. They're going to put up with shuffling. I don't think these are going to get damaged. I don't think these need sleeves to begin with. I mean, once with card packs like this, once they start to show wear and tear, I normally put them into sleeves. But I think to begin with, yeah, these are fine. Like I say, it's a good range of maps and thus a good range of different adventures. Deceived, the height of fashion, stubborn as the dead. This is a necromancy one. For the grand prize, a contest. What else we got? The nightmare, extraplanar, the underdogs, organized crime. Very, very nice. Very nice product indeed. We've got one more to open. Let's have a quick look at that one. So this is the urban. That's the urban pack. We've now got the rural, the wilderness and frontier fantasy pack. So again, let's unpack this again, just making sure it's on camera because I won't be able to do this again. Opening it up. Again, they're sealed inside, which is always nice. So let's unwrap those. Good. Okay, so again, like the other pack, we've got 54 in here. And again, there's a selection of different maps. But obviously, there's not going to be like city adventures. These are going to be more like wilderness, sort of outside the village. Oh, some of these maps are beautiful. Some of the artwork is great. I wonder if do they actually mention who draws these? Do they actually mention the artist? I don't think they do. I mean, I'd be interested to know who the artist is for these maps. I don't know whether it's the guys at Inkwellideas themselves, or whether they subcontract the artwork. But some of this artwork's really nice. Look at that, really nice. But yeah, I can definitely use some of these. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, it's not just for role players. These can also be used for tabletop games to provide narrative and story to your battles and skirmish games. And again, there's a huge range. So yeah, I mean, compared to the first product, the Scenario Builder book, I think these are going to be a lot faster to kind of get the initial ideas and the basic details. But you're going to have to work a little bit to sort of flesh them out. They do provide a fairly substantial amount of information on the back, which will help you to run it. But like I say, it's always better to sort of do a little bit more detail, I think. But yeah, very nice. So I have three sets of these, and I think these are going to be extremely useful in role-playing, solo role-playing, where having a scenario generator, an adventure generator, is extremely useful for solo role-players. But yeah, I can definitely see a use for these, and also for the Scenario Builder book, which is here. So yeah, so we have, let's move these to a side a little bit. There you go. So we have two basic products here: the Scenario Builder by Shieldice Design, and we have the Sidequest Decks by Inkwellideas, of which I have three. And I definitely see these as I don't know whether I would say essential tools, but definitely things that you could use to make your life easier as a dungeon master, as a solo role player, or as a tabletop gamer. Definitely worth looking into. Now, links for these products can be found down below. I'll put the Drive-Thru RPG links down below for you to find. And I do think they're worth looking at. They're not expensive. I mean, the PDFs are not expensive. These card packs, if you consider shipping as well, could potentially be expensive. But, you know, like I say, I still think they're worth getting. So, if you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoy my channel, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Add comments if you could, and ring the bell to be notified of future uploads. So, hope you enjoyed that. Until the next video, many thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe. Cheers.